Well, hey, everybody, this is Coach Ryan Smith with Personal Impact Training here in Florence, Kentucky. Most people know me as a personal trainer, runner, endurance coach. With that, I take it as my responsibility to be looking at ways of improving my athletes, looking at cutting edge sports science, research, information, new products. And I recently came across a product that I felt so strongly about that I immediately got one and for both use of my clients and myself. And with only a few times training on it, I felt so strongly about it. I needed to get the founder of the company and the product developer on the call with us so we can actually talk about it. Wanted to give you a brief little background of what it is that I came across here. Was I've been doing some post rehab training with a doctor, and he had a meniscus tear and had some surgery for it. So we've been doing post rehab training. Well, this product that you're going to see, the Gravity Suit, I put it on my client for about 5 minutes. Now, he's never been able to beat me in sprints or anything any time in the past. Did 5 minutes of training, did some sprint drills and some high knees and things like that, and took the suit off of him, and he blew by me. I was in shock. So anyway, what I've got is I have the founder of the company of Gravity Plus Products on the call with us here. His name is Jim Foster. He's got over 45 years in the fitness and training business. He's played professional baseball. He's boxed professionally as well. He's an author. He's trained with professional athletes like Muhammad Ali, Ken Norton, Fred Dryer. He's a creator of the SMART Special Muscle Adaptation Recruitment Training and has over 10 years of developing customized programs. He's created custom weight loss programs, and he, as I said, is the designer and the originator of the Gravity Plus suit. So welcome, Jim. I appreciate you being here with me today.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Well, Jim, I've been in the fitness industry for, 2012 makes it 23 years for me. So you've been in it longer than I have, and I've been in it for a while. I've seen lots of products, fads, different things come and go, and what's old is new again, when it comes to eating and working out and the CrossFit craze and everything else we got going on here. And what I've seen from this Gravity Plus suit is kind of a melding of the two. It's, the latest in sports science technology along with, body weight training and everything else in sports specific training that we've been doing for years. So, tell me a little bit about, kind of came up with the idea.
Well, years ago when I was training myself, I remember having certain feelings. As an example, if I was doing bench presses for a period of time, when I would get on the bench to warm up for my next, routine or my next set of bench presses, I would start with a very light bar, and I remember how quickly I was able to move the bar.
Sure.
Okay. And I was saying, well, wonder why I don't get that feeling when I perform other movements that I'm not loading. Okay, so I started to get the idea that by loading a movement, a specific movement, that everything would be easier and quicker, and I could be stronger and more proficient at that particular movement.
Right.
So I started working with other movements, again with my own body. This is going back, 40, 50 years ago. And I started getting the same results. I had made a device for arm and wrist wrestling, and I was able to figure that one out. And I was just so much quicker than everybody else that everything seemed so easy. So that was what really piqued my interest many years ago, and laid the groundwork to begin the research and development of the Gravity suit.
Great. Okay. Well, great. Well, I know the Gravity suit. I mean, you've got, when we look at the website, there's all different types of things. I'm looking at a sport-specific type of training using the Gravity suit, but what areas can you use the Gravity suit for?
Well, basically, we break it down into three areas, Ryan. The first one is weight loss.
Okay.
This is a product that if you wear it for weight loss, you won't even have to think about exercising, because basically it's making you exercise just through your normal body movements. Okay? It's taking everything you're doing and magnifying it or multiplying it by an X factor depending upon your intensity. The second area that we break it down into is physical therapy. It is an FDA approved, or I don't like to use the word approved, but registered Class 1 medical device, and we're now conducting studies and surveys about taking it to become a Class 2 device. And the third one is, of course, what you already began discussing with me, which is athletic training. So basically those three areas is what we break it down into.
Okay, well, great. So as a endurance and running coach, somebody who's into sport-specific training, working with runners and triathletes, talk to me about how the gravity suit can work in the sport-specific environments that I'm working in.
Well, again, what I was beginning to say a second ago was a classic example is what happened with you with your friend who's the sprinter, the anesthesiologist, I think
Right.
you said he is. Okay. People may wonder, well, how can that happen? How can somebody who's never beaten me before do specific exercises that he's done before, 5 minutes, and be that much faster in just a few minutes or the 5 minutes? And basically what the suit is doing, or what it did to him for that 5 minutes, was it programmed his nervous system, right, to work hard using specific neural pathways. In other words, specific movements.
Right.
Okay? And when you took it off him, even though his brain knew that the resistance was gone, the nervous system is still firing at the same rate that it was with the suit on.
Okay.
So basically, he got the very euphoric and very light feeling, and he was able to beat you. He was able to run faster than he ever did.
Right. Yeah, great. So,
Okay.
so what would a typical training program? I did a 5 minute, just 5 minutes of drills. We kind of, more than just, it was not a normal training session, but we just were experimenting around with it. So what would a normal training protocol be for me to use with, somebody who's an endurance athlete, a runner, for instance? How long does it take for me to work through a protocol with them, or, how often should I be doing that type of thing?
Well, you need to begin. The first thing I would recommend is that you begin with documented times.
Okay.
Okay? There shouldn't be any guesswork with any programs, I'm
Right.
sure you'll agree. Okay? The stopwatch doesn't lie. Okay? And this is an area that we get into a lot with people that say, well, do squats and you'll run faster. Okay?
Right.
Do this and run faster. Do cables and you'll run faster. Okay? Our answer to that is show us the data. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question directly, you begin by documenting everything.
Right.
Okay. Now, again, when we talk about endurance athletes, it's going to depend on the amount of endurance. In other words, how long the competitive event is. Okay. If there's
Right.
anything else involved in the competitive event. Okay. But basically, everything falls into the same genre of the idea that we have two things involved here. We have technique or form, which is what you teach,
Right.
sometimes also known as mechanics.
Right.
Okay? And we have strength. Okay? Now, will you get better if you just practice your form and your technique? Well, the answer is yes. I mean,
Right.
we've proven that. The problem with that is that when you try to strengthen your technique, you do movements that are foreign to it. Okay, whether it be like I mentioned earlier, a squat, okay, or a leg press, okay, or lunges, okay. How far do they go to strengthening your technique?
Right.
The answer to that is, and this is what we know is the case, they really don't. And in some cases they can, in many cases actually, they can be detrimental to that specific technique. And by the way, Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
you and I could both be marathon runners, okay? But your technique could be very different than mine.
Right.
Okay? So the key here is to get something that strengthens your specific technique.
So you're saying something that strengthens, the specific technique of that individual, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So in building the program, okay, what we're basically looking to do is to have a starting point, and everybody's going to be different as far as resistance, as far as the amount of compression that the suit is going to provide, because
Right.
again, the compression affects the cardiovascular system,
Sure.
and we're going to basically build it from there. So obviously, someone who's training 5 miles a day,
Mm-hmm.
okay, is not going to be able to do 5 miles in this product.
Right.
Okay, so we're backing it off, begin again, okay, and then progressively build the program
Okay.
through loading and additional time.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, what about so we've been talking about my sports, but what about other sports? I mean, obviously, it sounds like this can be used with pretty much any sport. I mean, because you are true sport-specific training. You're training in your own technique, as you said.
Right. Well, what we came up with years ago, we call it SMART training.
Mm-hmm.
SMART, which stands for Specific Muscle Adaptation Recruitment Training, meaning that we're only going to work the muscles in the exact neurological pattern that they worked in the actual competitive event.
Okay.
Okay. We have all kinds of discussions every day with people all over the world, who say, well, we do this, we do that. The bottom line is, okay, and this goes back to research that began, I would say, probably back in the 1950s, where they started to realize that you had to get as close to your competitive event as possible. Okay, some of the names involved, like Tudor Bomper and Dr. Verkhoshansky, Dr. Michael Yessis. We met with him
Right.
a week or two ago. Okay, they all say the same thing. The problem is that they didn't have a way, or we haven't had a way up till now, to actually perform the event. Okay.
Right.
So what we're telling you now is we do.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. What is it about this, from weight vests and everything else that we train with, ankle weights, wrist weights, and, handheld weights? What is it now that, that sets this product apart from everything else that we've been training with?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Ryan. And the answer is really very, very simple. It's biomechanics. Okay. All the products that you just mentioned, okay, alter the biomechanics in the technique. Okay, and it's the technique, that specific technique that we're looking to strengthen. Okay, I mean, as an example, if I'm going to throw a ball and I load myself with a wrist weight,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm going to alter all my mechanics to adjust for the weight being loaded at my wrist.
Right.
Okay, if it's just a weight vest and I'm running in it, okay, the weight vest pulls me in a certain way. It uses gravity in a different way than my normal biomechanics.
Right.
Okay, so I may now move at a slightly forward bent position at the waist, which
Okay.
again changes my technique.
Right.
So is really helping me strengthen my technique is the
Okay.
question that you need to ask yourself.
Okay.
The answer to us is no, it's not.
Right. Okay. Well, great. Well, I mean, to me, I'm sold on the product, just from the sheer fact, and I don't want this to sound like an infomercial, because I'm here to gather information. I'm trying to get information out for everybody that I know, and that's what all the other trainers and athletes that I work with and coaches that I know. Anyway, so I want to thank you, Jim, for coming on, talking to me today. I'm excited about this as one of the tools in my arsenal, working with athletes between proper sports nutrition, proper recovery, proper training, and having a tool like this, obviously sets my clients and myself apart as a trainer. But so tell me, so I can get this out there as far as, how can people get more information about the Gravity Suit? Obviously, they can contact me and I'll get them, in touch with you all and everything as well. But how else can they get some information?
They can go to www.gravityplusproducts.com.
Okay.
And we'll refer them to someone in their area,
Okay.
okay, that can like yourself, that can show them and demonstrate the product for them. We don't want anybody we make, like you said, some pretty tough claims here.
Right.
So it's really down to the demonstration. Like I said, give us 5 minutes and don't take our word for it.
Right.
Give it the 5 minutes.
Great.
Well, thanks so much for your putting this together today. I appreciate it, and anything we can do to help you or anyone else out there or answer any questions,
Great.
feel free to contact us. And like I say, be skeptical,
Mm-hmm.
and then try it.
I definitely was skeptical, and I've tried it, so I'm a believer. But I appreciate it, Jim, and thanks, and you'll have a great day out in California.